So come to standing. And just notice how you are standing this week, what the set of your shoulders is like, how the weight is distributed through yourself, down to your legs, through your feet. Does your head feel forward of your center of gravity? Does it feel behind your center of gravity? And then notice your breath. Where do you expand and contract with your breath cycle? Does your belly move forward as you inhale? Does your belly move backwards as you inhale? Does the back of your belly expand? In other words, you're like around to your sides, your love handles, and then behind on each side of your spine. Is there movement there? Does your chest rise and fall as you breathe? And then let that go and just turn a little bit to look left and right. Like you're just going to see a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. And then just notice, how do you do that? How do you, so probably your neck turns. Does your neck turn? To look left and right. Yeah, you're looking left and right. Yeah. And notice, when do your shoulders turn? Do you turn at the waist? Do your legs turn? Did me saying all those things change how you turn? You could turn. Sometimes when I teach this, nobody in this room did it, but sometimes people turn only their necks. Try that. Just turn, don't turn the rest of your body, just turn with your neck. Now you won't see as far. And then turn whatever you want to now, and notice, when do the shoulders come along? When do the hips come along? And then let that go and just take a walk around. Just noticing how rotation happens in your body as you walk. And when you're ready, come and lie on your back on the floor. And then scan yourself when you get there. Just notice your contact with the floor. Notice your length on the floor. And then compare the two sides of your body, left and right. Notice the backs of your heels and your legs. Does one leg feel longer than the other? Does one leg feel turned out more than the other? Does each leg make a different shape with the floor, a different kind of contact? And then scan upward to the back of your pelvis. Does one buttock press the floor more than the other one? Or maybe a little higher up in the sacrum area, to the left and right side of your tailbone. Are you already turned a little bit in one direction? That's another way to say it. Like, is one hip closer to the ceiling than the other hip? And you don't need to change it. And if they feel different, there's also nothing wrong with you. None of us are symmetric. The asymmetries just give us a nice entry point to begin to make distinctions between parts of our body. It's an awareness practice. And then scan up a little higher. Notice the low back. Is one side of your low back make more contact with the floor? And then notice the ribs. As you go up higher, notice the ribs on each side of your spine. As you go to the just above the low back to the mid back. And you'll scan up higher till you're almost to the shoulder blades. Just feel your rib cage on the left side and feel your rib cage on the right side. Do your ribs tell a story that you might have your chest turned a little more one way than the other? And then find how your shoulder blades touch the floor. Does one shoulder blade press more firmly, or is it more flat? Is one shoulder blade more pointy? Does it seem like one shoulder blade's closer to the ceiling than the other one? And with all these questions I'm asking, it could be that you feel about the same on both sides. It could be that you can't tell, you're not sure. Those are all valid and awesome answers. Now come to your head and roll your head a little bit left and right, and notice, do you roll a little easier one way versus the other? Does one direction feel like you're rolling kind of downhill, more downhill than the other one? Then let that go. And then just notice your breathing. How do you know you're breathing? What parts of you move? How can you sense that you're breathing? Do your ribs expand? Does your belly expand? Notice your breathing in your low belly, between your belly button and your pubic bone. Does that area expand as you inhale? Does your chest increase as you inhale? Is there any expansion forward with your sternum? Is there any expansion to the sides where your ribs meet your armpits or just below your armpits? Does the area between your shoulder blades know that you're breathing? And please bend your knees. And without moving your right foot, will you cross your left leg all the way over your right leg? Yeah, and then take those crossed legs and just gently tilt them over to the left and return. So not as far as you can go. A distance that's relatively easy to return to being upright. And as you do this, you'll notice that as you roll your legs, that the legs cause your hips to roll, your pelvis rolls. So as you roll to the left hip gets closer, and probably some of the left ribs get closer to the floor than the right. Does part of the right side of you come away? How far up you does this rotation go? Like, in other words, where do you feel it? Where do you stop feeling it in your upper body? You don't need to make it bigger to find something you could feel. Just keep it the same easy distance you're going. But as you go all the way to however far you're going to the left, and is there a little tug on the right collarbone area? And then as you return to standing, does that area get less tugged in the upper right part of your chest? And then next time you are over to the left, can you find a distance that it would be easy for you to stay there for a little while? Just somewhere you can hang out. And then I'd like you to begin to do this paradoxical breathing that we sometimes do in Feldenkrais, and I'll describe it for you. So what you'll do is on the next inhale, you'll pull in the abdominal area, and so that the chest will expand on the inhale a little more than the abdominals do. That's the first half of it. Do that a couple of times where you just feel you're kind of taking away some shape from the abdominal area, and you're increasing the shape of your chest. It may not only be forward with the chest, it could be this out to the sides, it could be a little behind you. You're just feeling you expand more in the ribs all the way around. And then on an exhale, what you'll do is you'll do the opposite. On the exhale, you'll contract your rib cage, make it smaller, and you'll actually, on the exhale, move the contents of your breathing muscles down towards your heels, towards your feet. So, if we're alternating, then you would contract the abdominals, make yourself narrow in the low body, and then expand in the ribs. And on the exhale, you'll make yourself narrow in the ribs, and you'll expand out straight down in all directions around your belly and low waist. And as you do that, while your legs are tilted over to the left, does that change how far your legs are tilted? When you move the contents like this, you inhale, expanding the chest, exhale, expanding the abdominals. Does that cause the little rocking motion? Does that cause the knees to go maybe down towards your feet more, or does it cause your knees to go over to the left more? And then when you do the inhale and expand the chest, do you expand a little asymmetrically in the chest as a result of being twisted this way? Tilted to the left. And when you expand the belly on the exhale, do you find that you expand differently on the left and right sides? In other words, there's this non-intuitive breathing. Does there movement on a diagonal? Is there more expansion on a diagonal? It's a better way for me to say it. Let that go, and take a rest. And here's your contact with the floor already changed. Have any of the places that felt turned or different than each other, has that changed? Has it shifted? Then bend your knees again. Have your feet about the width of your shoulders. Keep your right foot where it is and cross the left leg over the right again. And then just tilt the legs an easy distance over to the left and back to the starting place, and just see, what's this like now? did this get easier, or is it the same as it was before you manipulated your breath muscles? Did the effort change? Did doing something with the breath muscles change how you rotate your legs to the left and return them? Then let that go and uncross your legs. Have your feet about shoulder width apart. And then cross your left leg over your right one. Sorry, your right leg over your left one. The opposite of what we were just doing. And now guess what? We're going to tilt the legs over to the right and just see what it's like to go this way. How is this way different? Other than you're going, a different direction, obviously, but does it seem like your body wants to tilt to this direction a little more hungrily or eagerly as you did on the other side, or did the other side seem more fluent? You're just going an easy distance. You want it to be reversible without any strain. Just go to a distance that's devoid of strain. You don't want to have to hold your breath to pull the legs back up to standing. And then keep your legs somewhere over there, where you could just hang out a while. It's like your legs crossed. You're like lying on the beach this way, and you're reading a paperback book. Yeah, you'd want it, but you're just gonna have your legs over. And some of you are closer to the beach than others in the room, including me. And then do this paradoxical breathing, this non-intuitive way of breathing, where on the inhale, you'll narrow the abdominal area and expand the chest. And on the exhale, you narrow the chest area and expand downwards in the abdominals and fill the lower part of your torso so that you're pushing outwards and down, like down towards your feet. Down, but like down between your legs, not straight under you. And on the inhale, you'll pull that area in and expand the ribs. On the exhale, you'll contract the ribs, expand down and outwards in the abdominal area. Does doing this affect the way your legs are tilted? Now, you don't do anything particularly with the leg and hip muscles to come back upward, but do you notice that by manipulating the breath muscles this way, does this cause a shift? Do you go further over to the right with the legs at one part of the breath cycle? And do the legs want to kind of pop a little more upwards? Is there a different kind of tug on the shoulders or the front of your chest as you do this paradoxical alternate breathing because of the weight of the legs pulling you over? And this is what Moshe Feldenkrais calls a constraint. He puts you in a weird position, and there's a constraint in that your legs are crossed over each other. So that kind of makes your hips disappear as far as a possible function. And then it also constrains how your breathing muscles are going to be able to move. And so you're expanding into areas asymmetrically, and that novelty is our brain is hungry for that. Our brain is always wanting to play and feel new sensations, because play is the way we most like to learn. And then when you're ready, bring the legs back up to the middle. And then a few times, take the legs over to the right and back to standing, and without pausing, without hanging out there. Just find an easy distance to go and then return. And just see, has this changed a little bit since the first time you tilted your legs over to the right? There's something about that constrained breath and breathing in the weird way of alternating upper and lower body. Did that change how you tilt your legs? And let that go and then rest. So a lot of our postural muscles are secondary breathing muscles. And so when we explore the breath and with constraints like this, if we're able to free some relationships, say between the ribs, amongst others, it can allow us to maybe do a little more. In other words, where there's less holding, it's possible we might rotate differently or move differently, generally. Now please take your arms and put them straight in front of you toward the ceiling. And I'd like you to put your palms together. And with straight arms, you're going to maintain a shape of a triangle here, yeah? Some of you may have done these kind of movements before with the triangle arms. So what you'll do with this triangle shape is I'd like you to tilt the triangle over to the right and bring it back to where you started. But there's a couple of rules here. So number one, I'd like you to keep your arms straight the whole time. And number two, I'd like your palms not to slide. I want you to pretend there's super glue between your hands. You were crafting and you accidentally glued your hands together somehow, yeah. And you glued your elbows straight. Don't worry, you're going to be able to remove the super glue later. Now, how would you tilt the triangle to the right and back to the beginning without breaking those two constraints? Make sure you don't bend the right elbow. You're going to want to, yeah? But you're going to want to only because maybe you want to go farther. So don't worry about going farther. I mean, where are we going here anyway? You're not rolling to turn off the alarm clock in the morning. We're just doing a sort of thought and movement experiment. And do this without straining. You might say, oh, I can keep going without breaking the constraint. But if I do something with strain in my low belly or my legs or my feet, yeah, don't do that. In fact, find ways you can do less. Do the least strainful and effortful movement where you can make the triangle go to the right and back to the middle. It might be you only go an inch with the hands. Notice as you do this, can you breathe easily the whole time? Can you make breathing continual? And then rest your arms for a moment. Just to kind of get some blood flow back. And please take your own rests when you want to. I might forget to let you have your arms resting, and so you don't need to wait for me to say it. Just do the rest on your own. I'm sitting here with my arms folded in front of me. It's very comfortable, so I don't need a rest, but you might. Now bring your arms forward again like you just were with a triangle. And then tilt them to the right and back to the middle. And then I'd like to offer you something with the legs that might help you tilt slightly farther. I would like you to move your legs to help you, but I do not want you to tilt your legs to the right. I mean, you could do that. Why don't you tilt your legs a little to the right next time you take your arms to the right? So this is kind of about rolling. You would kind of roll over onto your side if you kept going, yeah? So I'd like you to find a different way to move the legs to allow a small additional movement with the triangle on. But I don't want them to tilt to the right. So there's another movement you can do where you do kind of a shimmy at the hips where the left knee goes a little farther from you and the right knee will get a little closer to you. And so I'm sorry, I think you'll have your legs bent for this. You have your knees bent. I wasn't watching everybody, and so some people took a full rest with the legs long. So yeah, come back. Your knees are bent, and you're tilting the arms to the right. And without tilting the legs to the right, what could you do? So you could take the left knee a little away and the right knee a little closer. And when you do it in this flavor of tilting the arms, when you take the left knee away, your left side may get a little longer, and the right side of the ribs will bend a little bit, will side bend. So in other words, there's a lengthening of the ribs on the left side in order to gently take the left knee away downwards over your foot. And you only want to do this as far as is easy. Next time you take your arms to the right, see if it makes sense that you could take them to the right, but at the same time have them also go a little upwards. And by upwards, I mean, yeah, in the direction of above your head. And maybe that helps you do this a little more smoothly. When you lengthen the ribs on the left side and you bend the ribs on the right side to roll over to the left, this kind of goes with that pattern. The left arm is coming long overhead because you're lengthening on the right side. Now, what can we do to make this even easier? Once you're in the middle again, change your leg position. You'll keep the left leg bent, but can you make the right leg long? Yeah, rest your arms when you need to. And then you'll tilt the triangle arms again to the right. You're still taking the left knee away, but your right leg doesn't have to worry about what it's doing, really. In fact, encourage the right leg to roll outwards. And then find a place you could stay over there comfortably for a bit and just stay there and hang out. And then do this breathing we've been doing. You're gonna inhibit the waist and low abdomen area. You're gonna pull it in on the inhale to expand the ribs all the way around. And then on the exhale, you'll contract the ribs all the way around and expand down and outwards. So your low belly might push forward and down towards your feet. You might feel to the left and right sides of your low back might push down and towards your feet. Maybe out to the sides. So you're staying over there. You're finding a place to hang out and you're just alternately doing the breath. Now, can you feel, even though you're hanging out in this position, can you feel the effects of doing this paradoxical breathing? As you pull the abdominals and expand the chest, you find that it wants to turn your upper body further, even further to the right from where you're hanging out. Not with effort in the torso, or not with effort expressly in the shoulder joints to move the arms, but just from does the breath, in other words, change the position of the chest so you feel like you go upwards a little more. And then as you're pushing downwards in the abdominals, the low belly, does that do something to change the shape of where your leg is standing or how far arched away from the floor you are on the left side? And you're not really on the floor on the left side, are you? So you may feel when you're expanding the belly on the exhale that you push backwards more towards the left side because the right side is on the floor, yeah? And then let that go and take a rest. with your legs long and your arms long. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but before we do, notice your contact with the floor. Do you feel an echo of what you just did? Like, are you already turned to one side because of what you just did? Is that true at the shoulder blades? Is that true behind your pelvis? Do they feel the same? And then bend your knees again, please. Actually, yeah, bend your knees again, please. Cross the left leg over the right. And tilt your legs over to the left a few times. And just see how easy this is or difficult it is. And just feel, did something change as a result of doing the triangle arms? Did this tilting get easier? Do you go further with the same effort? Or maybe you go the same different distance, but it just is smoother somehow. Maybe you counterweight it easier. Then undo your legs and cross them the other way. Cross the right leg over the left leg, and now tilt your legs to the right and back to the beginning. And what's it like going this way? Did something about triangle arms make this easier, or is it the same? And then undo your legs and just have the feet standing with your legs bent, knees bent. Now make that triangle again with your palms glued together and your elbows glued straight. And now tilt your arms to the left this time. Go an easy distance. And for right now, you don't do anything expressly with the legs. You just are tilting the arms. But don't go so far that you strain. And make sure you honor the constraint, especially the left elbow. You want to pay attention that you keep it straight, the left elbow. And keep the palms together. Some people like to actually interlace the fingers and clasp the hand so they don't slide the hand. And notice how you're breathing. Can you breathe fluidly as you do this? So there's a limit to how far you can go. That's Feldenkrais designed the constraint for that very purpose, because he uses the constraint in actually several lessons, several versions of where we are in this position. And it almost always creates a new way of rotating elsewhere in the body so that you can roll yourself this way. Because we have other habits, right? We're normally are going to reach for something and we're going to do different things with each arm. So this weird novel thing gets our brain's attention. Notice, is your head rolling with your arms, or does your head stay where it is at the beginning? Try it both ways. What feels easier to you or more natural? Can you do either one? Is one easier than the other? And then you can do whatever you want now with the relationship of the head and the arms. But can you begin to explore, if you moved your legs, how you could, without any additional effort, could you take the triangle shape to the left farther? So without different efforts. So don't do it by strength and strain, but can you find the way with biomechanics to do it? And by that I just mean, can you move the structure of the bones of your body, the skeleton, such that the arms are allowed to go farther to the left without any additional effort? So explore how you would do this. So like I said earlier, you could tilt the legs to the left, yeah? Try that one or two times, where you actually just tilt the knees over, like you're going to roll over onto the floor. So that's a way, yeah? It's more of a rolling kind of way, yeah? But then play with this other way that's in the lesson, which is to not tilt the knees over. So rather than rolling, we're doing something else. We're arching on one side and then we're folding on the other. We're lengthening one side of our body and shortening the other side. So to do it that way, the right knee will go away from you. The left knee's going to come towards you. So minimize the amount of distance the legs tilt to the left. There could be a little bit, but mainly keep the knees facing the ceiling. And you'll find the right knee can go down and away from you. You'll lengthen on the right side. Your right buttock will come away from the floor, may come off the floor. Some of your ribs are going to come off the floor. And you may notice that if you take this to its limit here, what you might do mechanically, that you might feel that the left leg gets lighter. In fact, if you really lengthen on the right side, you might find the left foot could even come off the ground. Or at least feel that it gets lighter that way. And then fine, can you sweep the arms a little bit up as you go left? And then let's see what might make this easier. So why don't you lengthen the left leg? Keep doing the same movement, but the right knee is going to come away from you. You're going to get long on that right side. But now allow the left leg to turn. Actually turn the left leg. And by turning the left leg, it's going to make it really easier to lengthen on that one side and then shorten on the other. And then find some distance you can hang out. Find a place you can hang out comfortably with the arms over and you're arched a little off the floor on the right side. And stay there and do this manipulation of the breathing where you pull in the waistline, the abdominals, and expand into the chest, and then you narrow your chest to push down on the exhale. Gently push down, not like you're straining to do something down there. You're just exhaling easily, but expanding, and then pulling the belly on the inhale, expanding your chest. And so does this create a kind of a seesaw motion? Do your arms move as you come upwards with the inhale? Do your legs move as you go downward with the exhale? Do you feel how this forces your ribs to expand asymmetrically? Do you feel how on the exhale that you expand in the lower torso asymmetrically, sorry. Like the left side is rolled over and on the floor and the right side is in the air. So you might find on the exhale when you expand the lower body that you expand more to the right. And then let that all go and rest with your legs long and your arms long. And notice what's changed. What are the shoulder blades like compared to each other? What's the back of your pelvis like? Bend your knees and stand your feet, please. Then cross your left leg over the right and tilt your legs to the left a few times and see what's changed. Is doing the triangle arms made this direction easier to go to the left and back? Is it the same? And when you're ready, when you're back to the starting place, uncross your legs. Have your feet about the width of your shoulders and then cross the other way. Yeah, you cross the right leg over the left without moving the left foot. And then tilt your legs to the right a couple of times or two. And what's it like going this way? Is there something about taking the triangle arms to the left that made something more available to tilt your legs to the right? Did something get freed in the ribs and belly from manipulating the breath in that asymmetric position, that twisted position? Next time your legs are pointing or up to the starting place, stay there. And then interlace your fingers, your hands behind your head. Just interlace your fingers behind your head. And then, actually, uncross your legs and just have your knees standing normally. And so what I'm going to have you do is lift, use your arms, bring your elbows toward each other to kind of wrap around your back of your head. And as you do so, you lift your head just a little bit. Not as far as you can go, not like you're doing a sit-up. But just gently, and then gently lower it again. And take your arms wide a little bit. If it's comfortable. Now, modify this if any part of it's uncomfortable. And then you'll draw the arms around your head again, and then you'll gently lift. Great. Now, pause a moment, and then cross your right leg over your left again. And I'd like you to be timing this such that you're going to do what we were doing, which you're going to tilt the legs to the right. But as you tilt the legs to the right, at the same time, you're going to lift the head by drawing the elbows close. And it's like you're going to initiate tilting the legs with lifting the head. So yeah, your head comes away from the floor and the force of gravity that was pushing back your head now kind of goes downwards towards your upper spine, in your chest. And when you lengthen the chest to flatten on the floor to get your head and arms back down to the floor, then your legs come back up to standing. And feel the asymmetry of this. So when your legs are tilting away to the right, so I'm asking you to lift your arms so that you're going straight down, but do you find that it's not really a straight down there? That as your legs go away to the right, that even though you're looking straight down, can you feel there's a tug that's different on each side, around each shoulder, armpit area, collarbone area? Next time you got the legs tilted to the right and your head is lifted, if it's comfortable and easy, stay there a moment and then do this weird breathing we've been doing. So you'll inhale, pulling the abdominals in and expanding all around the ribs and chest. And then on the exhale, you'll narrow the chest and you'll expand downward towards your legs. And notice what effect this has. Notice that as you bring the air up, contents up, expanding the chest, it almost wants to take your head back toward the floor, And as you expand downward, it might cause your legs to go a little down and over farther to the right. Yeah, it's not a lot, But that's the study here in today's project, is the sense how when you manipulate all the musculature around the ribs and the abdominal muscles that help you breathe, that it changes all the rest of you. Now come back up to, have your head resting. If you still like your hands behind your head, keep them there. And bring your knees upright. And then could you lift, next time you lift your head to have the knees run away to the right, I'd like you to see what your eyeballs are doing. And actually intentionally look down with your eyes. And you may have already been doing that, but just pay more attention now to actually make sure you do. As the legs tilt away, you're looking down towards your feet, and then look up towards your hairline as you return. So you're looking up as your head comes back, you're looking down as your head goes down. And then as soon as you feel like that's pretty fluid and smooth, I'm going to have you do the opposite. So you're going to still curl your head down as you take the legs to the right, but I'd like your eyeballs to look at your hairline as you go down. So I'll repeat that so you can do it a time or two. So as you take the legs to the right and your head goes down, your elbows lift your head, then you look up at the hairline, and then as you return, you look down towards your feet as the head comes back and your legs come back up. But you just look down in the eyeballs as you return. As you round to take the legs away, you look up with your eyeballs in the sockets. And then you return to having your head back and you look downwards in the eye sockets. And do it without straining your eyes. There's a way you could do less with the eyes, but still do the direction. And then undo that. Go ahead and do the more intuitive thing, which would be to look down with the eyeballs as you go down, and look back up where the eyeballs as you return. And did that get smoother or easier? And why don't you take a rest with everything long on the floor? And then when you're ready, bend your knees again. And cross the right leg over the left again. Interlace your fingers behind your head again. I'm going to have you do the same thing, but this time I'd like you to use the left eye to look down and up as you do this. And do it with your eyes closed. So you're going to use your left eye, and you're going to let your right eye take a break. Your right eye is still going to move, but just look down through your closed eyelid and feel like where you would look down to look at your feet as the legs go over to the right. And then let your right eye, which eye did I say? Left eye, right? Your left eye then return to the hairline, looking at the hairline as you come back. Yeah, so the left eye is looking down as you lift and take the legs away, and the left eye is looking back upwards to the hairline as you return. And then, but just sense, can you really do that? Because there's the left eye really doing the looking. Can you actually relax the right eye while you look with the left primarily? And then I'd like you to move that left eye the opposite way. So as you lift to lower the head to take the knees to the right, your left eye will look up to the hairline. And then when you turn your head to the floor, you'll look down with the left eye in the socket towards your feet. Do that a few times until you can coordinate that. You're looking up at the hairline with the left eye as you round. And you're looking down towards the feet as you return to the floor. And then when you're, then go ahead and then go with again with the left eye. So the left eye is now looking down as you tilt and lift. It's looking up at the hairline as you return. And just see, did that get easier after doing the non-intuitive, the opposite direction with the left eyeball? Did it get easier to look with the left? Down, look going down, up looking up. And pause a moment, however you want to. And then when you're ready, we'll do the right eye. So you'll interlace the fingers behind your head. You'll tilt the knees. The right leg is crossed over the left. And you'll tilt to the right, but you'll look down with the right eye. And with your eyes closed. And then you'll look up with the right eye as you go back. Do that a time or two. And once that becomes smooth, or you've got how it feels in your experience, then switch. Look the opposite way as to what might be intuitive with the right eye, with the eyelids closed. So as you lift to go down and tilt the leg, your right eye looks at the hairline, and then as you return, your right eye looks down. And notice if you breathe as you do this. Can you breathe smoothly? And when you're ready, go ahead and go do the original movement of taking the right eye down as you go down, back up as you go back up. And then when you're ready, forget about using one eye or the other and just use both eyes. Does using both eyes to go down, look down, and take the legs to the right, has that changed how the movement feels? Do the eyes have anything to do with this movement? And whenever you're ready, just please take a rest. Yeah, your legs are long and your arms are at your sides, and just feel what it's like to rest. Has anything else happened in your contact with the floor? And when you're ready, please bend your knees and stand your feet. And cross your left leg over your right leg. And tilt your legs to the left and bring them back to standing. And just notice what happens this way. Notice what your eyes do when you roll your legs like this to the left. Obviously your pelvis turns, your ribs turn. What happens if next time you tilt to the left, you actually look left with your eyes intentionally? With the eyeballs. When you look left with the eyeballs as you roll the pelvis to roll your legs, does your head move too, or does you move only in the eye sockets? I don't have a rule yet about what you should do with your face, whether your head should turn or not. What do you want to do as you look left with the eyeballs? And then, actually intentionally, next time you tilt the legs, roll your head and look left with your eyes at the same time. And notice if you do both, if you roll your head and roll your eyes to the left, that gives some kind of freedom and permission for your weight to shift to the left side of your upper spine. And that may change how far you go with the legs. And then you might find that once you're over to the left with your face and your eyes, that it helps to return your legs to standing if you look right with your eyes and roll your head back to the center. Just play with that. Does it matter? Does it matter when you return your head and eyes to the right? Could you do the knees first and then later the head and eyes, or does that make it harder? And by the way, we're on the hour. If you need to go, please feel free to go. But if you want to stay for a little longer, then please feel free to stay. Now, next time you tilt your legs to the left, look the opposite way with the eyeballs. What effect does that have on how far you easily roll the legs? Now you can do what you want with your head, and your face. Your head and face tend to turn at the same time. But yeah, can you let your head roll to the left with your legs and look right with your eyeballs? And then bring everything back to the middle. And then roll everything to the left. Let your eyes do what they want with them. Now I'd like you to do another funny thing. I'd like you to take the eyeballs to the left and your legs go to the left, but can you take your head to the right? So yeah, your head's going to go to the right, but your eyes are going to stay loyal to the legs. And it doesn't have to be as big a movement. It might be easier to coordinate this actually if you don't tilt your legs very far. So your eyeballs are going to go with the legs, but your head's going to go the opposite way. And that might feel impossible initially until it becomes possible. Notice, can you breathe and do that at the same time? Or do you find you have to do something, you have to strain a little somewhere in the face, neck, eyes, chest, in order to coordinate, to honor this weird request? And then let that go and take one more rest. And we'll do one last scan, just sense anything that's changed. Compare the two legs as one leg. If the legs felt different at the beginning, has that changed? If one felt longer or shaped differently or had a different weight, has that changed? Sense the back of your pelvis and feel if you felt like you were already rolled a little left or right with your pelvis, has that changed? You might have flattened more, or you actually might feel you rolled the opposite way that you sensed at the beginning. Then feel the back of your low back. Has that contact changed? Sense your ribs. Do you have more ribs that are arrayed pressing the floor on than you did before? If one set of ribs felt heavier, like you were turned a little bit one way or the other, has that changed? Feel the two shoulder blades. Do you remember what it was like at the beginning? Was there one shoulder blade that felt flatter or firmer on the floor? And has that changed? Are they both flatter? Or maybe you feel more turned the opposite way than you sensed at the beginning in the shoulders. And then roll your head just a little bit left and right. And just notice how far you go easily. Sense any resistance. Is there less resistance? If you remember one side being easier, has that changed? And then bend each knee one at a time. Stand your feet. And then cross your left leg over your right and tilt your legs to the left just as a final time to feel if this got easier as a result of everything we did today. How is your whole body involved in bringing the legs over to the left and bringing them back to the center? And then cross your legs the other way. You'll put your feet on the floor first, of course, and have about the width of your shoulders, and then cross the right leg over the left. And tilt to the right a few times and see how did this side change. Is this smoother? Does it seem lighter? Does it seem like the rotation is distributed differently in your body? And when you're ready, undo that and then just roll to one side, and you'll gradually come up to sitting. And eventually, roll to one side, and you'll take your time. You'll come to sitting or hands and knees and gradually come to standing. There's no hurry, though. And when you come to standing, just sense what's changed. Feel how the set of your shoulders again. Sense, did you get taller? Did you get shorter? Is your center of gravity changed? What's your breathing like in standing now? I asked you about that at the beginning, I think, and just sense what moves as you breathe. Do you sense more movement in some different places? So as your ribs expand on the inhale, do you have more of them? Do you expand backwards differently, or upwards to your shoulders differently, or beneath your armpits differently? As you expand on the inhale, does your low belly move forward to stay soft? Do you feel the back of your belly? We do typically in our world, we don't define the back as our belly. But I guess the low back, in other words. But I also don't think lay people really talk about breathe with your low back. That's not something that we're asked to do. But there is expansion back there. And then, without stepping away from where you're standing, turn and look a little bit left, a little bit right, like we did at the beginning. Although, is it like the beginning or is it different? Feel the order of operations now. Do you sense something? The rotation has a different quality. Your eyes turn, your neck turns. When did your shoulders turn? Where does the rest of you turn? Are your eyes leading the movement? Or is your pelvis leading the movement? When you intend to turn, what's the first thing you feel kind of twitching in action? When you start to turn, look to turn, does it feel like it's sequential, or does it feel like just your whole self reacts, begins to soften on one side and you break over to the right or the left? And then when you're ready, just take a walk around. How does what you did today inform walking? There's obviously rotation in walking. Yeah, just walk somewhat normally. Not like you're trying to figure it all out or remember or listen to for something special, but just walk. Just generally, is there a quality that's an echo of the lesson, rather than intentionally doing something that's found in the lesson? All right, I think we'll stop there. Thank you for having me again. Nice to come 2 weeks in a row.